Now, face the mighty bison.
So this is where it's all began for me. Right here. Slim Bob. People know me as like the Yoshi main, and I am a Yoshi main. The first Tekken character that I have memory of is Jack. Him flying in the air and shooting a little shotgun orb with the shells dropping was fire. That was at I played that game at a cousin's house. It was really fun. But then after that, I was borrowing Tekken 6, and that's when I discovered King. He was really awesome. I played him for a little bit, but then that's when I also discovered Yoshi. Yoshimitsu's P2 outfit in Tekken 6 is like my favorite outfit ever. But then Tekken Tag Tournament 2 came around, and this was the first Tekken that I bought with like my own cash, and I played it like so much. And you know, one of the characters that I immediately discovered was Slim Bob, Kunimitsu, Brian Fury, Dragunov, Jinpapi, Angel, Lars, Lily, Alyssa, Kazuya. There was a lot of characters in that game that I had fun pairing up with Yoshimitsu, and it was really fun. But also, I was spreading myself too thin with tackling all these characters, and also Yoshimitsu is a complex character in and of itself. There was no way I was going to get good at the game, right? But then as time went on, I started to hone down the characters that I play, like, you know, reduce the number, and it was just like Yoshimitsu, Slim Bob, Dragunov, and Kunimitsu. Those were the real ones. I kind of want to say Brian and Jinpapi, but I dropped those characters a little bit, right? But Slim Bob was like my real guy. Now, I had no clue that Slim Bob was weaker than regular Bob, because Slim Bob doesn't have the body, he doesn't have the weight, right? So when he does certain attacks, he's negative frames, or his frames is worse because he doesn't have the weight, the weight to put behind it. And that's actually kind of crazy, like if you think about it. Bob is stronger because when he does his attacks, he's throwing his weight around. But since Slim Bob doesn't have the weight, sometimes he'll bounce off of you, right? So that was really cool. That's something that I learned like quite recently about the two characters, is that Slim Bob was actually the weaker one. But what really gravitated me to Slim Bob is one, the outfit. Look at it. Look at the outfit. The drip, bro. He got the baggy like jumpsuit on with the hood on too. I hope his hood, does he have a hood on in Tekken? No, he has a hat. The outfit is fire though. The drip is insane. But one thing that I don't think people put enough emphasis on with Tekken is the voice acting. A lot of the characters that I liked in Tekken was just because their voice actors was going crazy. Like, it's funny to list Dragunov as one of those characters because he doesn't really speak, he just yells and screams, but fire nonetheless. Same thing with Angel. Fire, an angelic figure, but screeching and howling like a savage animal. So Bob, he was one of the characters who really felt like he was like putting his all into a punch. He would go, like real deal, like I'm putting weight behind this. And I just like that. And then I guess what also made me like Slim Bob as well is the fact that he didn't have the weight. So a lot of his moves he recoiled, right? And that recoil, just that added bit of animation, just made it seem like he was really like trying. Like when he go, and then he bounces off the opponent, it just made the moves feel so much more impactful. And I loved it so much. But the thing is, Slim Bob is, I don't know if he's canonical. I don't know if Slim Bob is canonical, because I know Bob gained weight to, hone his fighting style. But Slim Bob is not, like, he never was Bob and then reverted to Slim Bob. Like, that's not canon, right? So Slim Bob is probably gone. He won't make an appearance in Tekken 8. I don't think so. There's a lot of people who are saying that Slim Bob, when Bob activates heat in Tekken 8, he should turn into Slim Bob, or vice versa, because, Bob is the stronger one. But I don't think that would look good visually. If Bob activates heat and then he loses weight or gains weight, nah, that's gonna be chopped. And then even if you do the same thing with like an install or something, I just think, yeah, Slim Bob is just gone. I love the ideas. I love how players want to like include other characters into the idea, into the gameplay, but it's just not gonna happen. Slim Bob, tall, lanky. He was cool, but he's just not the true identity of the character. So he'll always have a special place in my heart. But now, you know, I play Bob, right? And Bob in Tekken 8, I hope they do this character justice. I feel like they will, because the Kunimitsu is super fun. Kunimitsu is super fun. Yes, she's strong. She has a lot of strengths. She's a very solid character. Her combo damage is kind of chopped. But Bob, he's kind of interesting because he is a hybrid. He has a little bit of a wildness to him where he could roll around on the ground and get real creative and jump all over the place. And he's rolling this way, rolling that way. He's jumping in the air. He's doing, you know, Shoryukens. But then he also starts doing Waivu, Hell Sweep, Waivu, CD2, I believe they put is, which it's kind of like Jin's electric. Hopefully I don't sound like a scrub saying that, but he's Mishima-like, right? And that's something that high-level players really tap into, and they go crazy with him. Like Bob is he's an OG character, he's a legacy character. I know all the unks are like happy for this character, but there's a duality in him where like the lower level players play him in a very like wild way, and then the high level players play more of a refined poking mix-up Mishima style way with punishing, and you know, so he has that. I know people don't like him, but I feel like he has a lot of what make Tekken, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't really, he's not, like, you gotta have good fundamentals, some good mechanical skills, and you gotta have, like, good Tekken abilities to, like, you know, do well with this, this character. So, I hope a lot of that identity, and I hope a lot of that, you know, just identity of the character is there. I have a feeling that they'll give him an install, because one of these characters is going to have install, whether it's Yujiro, Roger, or Bob. I know the developers have been holding off on giving characters installs because they got a lot of pushback for that in Season 2 and Season 1 because the installs are so strong. But eventually, some character's going to get an install. And I don't know what kind of power-up mechanic they could give Bob. Honestly, I think an install would fit better on Roger and Yujiro. Him, you should just let him be him. You should just let him do like a couple of heat enhanced attacks. You know, let him roll around on the ground. Don't give him a guard break. If he could do like some rolling on the ground, guard break, something crazy, that's going to be wild. But I feel like an install on him wouldn't make sense. And it would just be like something that's like extra. And also, I don't like how installs impact characters to where like it's this kind of like thing that you use. You know, it's like this thing that you like. It's like a crutch in a way. It's like the match doesn't start until the install comes in, and then the install is just spammed on the opponent, and then they lose. Like Eddie. Like Eddie's already, you know, powerful enough, but then when he gets the install, he just starts doing broken moves that like has crazy animations, and you know, you're kind of cooked. But I don't want that for Bob. I would like for Bob to just be a traditional, you know, Tekken character who's poking, you know, moving, trying to go for his setups, his moves, and that's really it. You know, I think that this character has the opportunity to be really good, really huge, and they should be careful not to make him too powerful. On the point or the topic of too powerful, what's really interesting is with Season 3, this is because look, I know we've been talking about pay-to-win DLC going all the way back to Tekken 7, right? But focusing on Tekken 8, Season 1 of Tekken 8 didn't really have like true broken characters. What I mean by that is like Eddie is a scrub killer and Lydia is just stance slot. Heihachi was buffed to an extreme degree, and then Clive is just long range demon, right? In Season 2, Anna was buffed and they gave her some huge weapon with a lot of range. Fakamram is a character with a lot of range and great tools. Armor King is just a king with like, you know, a little bit more to him. Marizu is just stand slop with a little bit of poking. Season 3 is the characters who are like really like powerful. Like Bob has a history of being powerful. He has a history of having all the tools, all the this, all like there is no he's only powerful because he's stance slap. He's only powerful because he's long range. He's only powerful because no, his toolkit is what makes him dangerous. And the same thing with Kunimitsu and the same thing with Roger. Those characters have tools that make them powerful. You know, launching this, save that, mix up that, Mishima this, low poke this. Like they just have they're a kitted character. And you don't have to do much to make these characters broken is my point. You don't have to give them long range like Anna. You don't have to give them broken installs. You don't have to give them stand slap, right? These characters are very powerful on their own. And it's important that the developers, one, not lose that identity because it's special. Two, not give them any of the things that I've already listed because it would just make the problems with them so much worse. I think they know this though. I think they know this. We talk about this stuff like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, you know, be careful not to make the character. But I personally feel like ever since Anna, right after Anna, the DLC characters has been more balanced. Balanced in a Tekken 8 sense. Balanced in a Tekken 8 sense, but balanced nonetheless, right? Like, we haven't gotten another Anna. We haven't gotten another Heihachi, right? Kunimitsu is powerful, but her combo damage is abysmal. And her poking, if you're not good enough, can be very predictable, right? So I think they're on the right path. And Bob being a character with a lot of legacy, a lot of history, I have high hopes for him. And I want the developers to cook.